Hey guys, Tony here for TonyTechBytes, and today we are building another PC for another customer. If you want to check out all the parts, I'll link them in the description down below. I don't want to waste as much time as I did last time. That video was like an hour long, so this video I want to make it like 20 or 30 minutes. Something that's easier to digest, something that's probably more entertaining to watch anyways. All you're going to need is a Phillips head screwdriver, and all the tools, manuals, and all that stuff, screws as well, should be included in the boxes with the stuff that you buy. I'm not going to go over every single part because that was another part that wasted a ton of time. If you want to check out everything in this build, I'll link it in the description down below for your convenience. They are affiliate links for Amazon, so I do earn a tiny bit of commission from them. I'm trying to get a new camera, so I'm going to keep uploading as often as possible. So I'm going to keep uploading a lot on YouTube, and I want to increase my camera quality as well. So let's get right into building everything. Okay, now we are overhead. I don't have a second camera, so you won't be able to see my face, but we just have to unbox everything, and sorry if it's not wide enough. Yet again, this is as wide as my lens goes. So open up the motherboard box, take it out, and sort of put it down somewhere first, leave it in the anti-static bag. We're going to grab all the things that we need, such as, we actually don't need any SATA cables, but if you have any hard drives, you might need that. Zip ties, you might need these, but we're going to use these M.2 screws. These are just in this tiny bag. We don't need this RGB cable thing. We don't need this. Shoot, we don't need the manual. No, actually I'll keep the manual. We might need it. Let's see, what else? We don't need stickers. We can just leave this in there later. Take out all this garbage. So yeah, we're just gonna get the manual, this out. And sorry if my camera's shaky. It's on a tripod, so it might not be the most stable. So I would suggest taking this out of the bag and putting this on a flat surface. Preferably not on carpet, something that's not gonna conduct electricity, such as a good spot would be to put it on top of a table or on top of a box. Let me just put it on top of the GPU box for now, and we can close up the motherboard box, put the anti-static bag in here. The outside the anti-static bag can actually conduct electricity, so we don't want to put the motherboard on top of that. Close up the motherboard box. You have all this stuff over here, and put the motherboard on top of the motherboard box. Flip around like this so it's easier just to see. And then let's unbox everything else as well. I'm gonna cut the camera because it's just opening boxes. Make sure nothing falls out, make sure you don't drop anything. Okay, so we take the CPU out of the box. You can see a triangle at the bottom left of the CPU if you look at it from this angle, where you can read the text up here. And if you look at the back side of the CPU, you can see the gold triangle is back there. So we need to line up this triangle with the triangle in the socket. Let me just focus on the motherboard. And my camera has terrible autofocus, so I have to manual focus everything. So to install the CPU, you have to lift up this lever over here on the socket. Open up the plastic container carefully, hold the CPU from the sides, do not touch the pins on the bottom. Line up the triangle up here with the triangle at the socket, drop it in. You don't need any force, and you don't really need to wiggle it or push it down. Then just drop down the lever, and it's in. You can tell you have the CPU installed because the Ryzen logo is sideways, it's like this, and yeah, that's pretty easy. It's just install the CPU. How hard can it be? By the way, this Asus B450F is updated out of the box for Ryzen 3000, and next we just have to take off these brackets over here, this AM4 bracket. We don't need this because we are using the included cooler that came with the Ryzen 5 3600. It's the Wraith Stealth cooler, and it just screws onto the bracket in the back. So unscrew this, just get a Phillips head screwdriver. It's pretty simple. Alright, take this out. So you can see that there are 4 standoffs over here. This is from the bracket in the back. Do not lift the motherboard from the box, because if you lift it, the bracket's gonna be back there. So yeah, just leave the bracket over here and make sure to leave the motherboard on top of the motherboard box so you can actually screw this on. So if we open up the CPU cooler box, you see that this is the Wraith Stealth. It's a similar process for the Wraith Spire. And you can see it also has thermal paste on the bottom. Let me just focus on this right now. So this thermal paste, it transfers heat from the CPU onto this heatsink, and it basically just gets rid of all the heat from the fan, pushes all the hot air into the atmosphere. So you need thermal paste. It's obviously necessary, otherwise they wouldn't include it. They wouldn't waste money on including that. We're gonna wipe this off with isopropyl alcohol and a coffee filter, and I'm gonna use my own thermal paste. If you just want to use this included paste, if you don't want to pay for additional paste, this is fine. It's going to work okay. You just have to screw this on and forget about the next step, which involves applying thermal paste. But yeah, so I'm going to wipe this off and I'm going to show you how to apply your own paste if you want to. If you don't want to, just use this paste, whatever. Alright, I got some isopropyl alcohol. This is 91%. You can just get 70% or whatever works. So just have to open this up, put a little on top of onto a copy filter, and this won't really be on camera because I don't want to spill it over the motherboard, but you just have to sort of put some on this coffee filter. And I use a coffee filter. You can also use a microfiber cloth instead. Coffee filters have less lint than paper towels, and you don't really want lint on top of your CPU. So let's wipe off the thermal paste on the CPU cooler. Let me focus onto the CPU cooler. Alright, here. So got the isopropyl alcohol. I'm anticipating this is going to be pretty tough. Okay, never mind. It wasn't that hard. And flip it onto the side. Wipe all this junky paste off the heatsink. And kind of have to use another one as well. Another coffee filter just to clean it all off. Make sure all this thermal paste that AMD includes is off. Alright, I'm gonna let it dry a little bit. Let's also rotate the AMD logo to make it look better, because it's gonna look sideways in its current position. So you just have to pop this off, and I believe, no, you can't just pull this off. You have to rotate this around. So you just have to unscrew these 4 screws over here holding down the fan. You don't have to do this step, but I just do like it. It looks better aesthetically. So I got a different screwdriver. This one's a little bit smaller. You can take out the 4 screws easier. This is sort of a waste of time if you don't care about aesthetics, but this is for a customer. It's just gonna look a lot better like this, honestly. So let me just unscrew this. These 4 screws over here. Come on, come out. Okay, we took this one out. One last one over here. Come on, quicker. Okay, just lift this up from the heatsink. You can see the heatsink over here, and just rotate it this way, and we can just screw it back on. Alright, and now we just pop this back on, and you see it just pops back on. So now when we screw it onto the motherboard, it's gonna have the logo up here versus on the sides. Looks a lot better like this. So let's get the motherboard back over here onto the desk. Put the motherboard back over here. Get my screwdriver ready. And I would also suggest removing this sticker on the chipset heatsink, because it is just gonna hinder the thermal conductivity. Having a piece of plastic on metal, and there isn't any sticker over here on these VRM heatsinks, so it looks fine. Okay, so let's install the cooler as well as thermal paste. So I have some Arctic MX4. Yet again, if you're using the stock paste, so you don't have to worry about this. Just put a pea-sized amount in the middle of the integrated heat spreader. That looks like a big pea, but this looks okay still. Actually, not even that bad. It should spread out once you install the cooler. Once you screw it down, it's gonna spread out from the mounting pressure. Alright, so we're gonna have to screw the CPU cooler onto the CPU in order to cool it effectively. So let's get the cooler ready. Make sure to line it up with the holes on the back plate of the motherboard. Line it up, and then we're gonna have to push down pretty hard and then start screwing. So I feel like this is lined up. Let me poke my head around. Sorry if you see my hair. Okay, we just gotta line it up. You're gonna have to push down and then screw down. So let me just pull it a little bit closer to me. Can't see the other screw because I'm overhead. Okay, screw down the opposite corners a little bit first. This is for some reason. Okay, screw down a couple turns and screw the opposite corner a couple turns. Screw this corner a wee bit. Oh, why is this so difficult? Screw this corner. Let's go back to this corner. Then let's do this corner. And maybe we'll go back to this corner. This corner. This corner over here. top corner. Like, it's annoying. You screw one corner in like a couple turns too much, and then it ends up messing it all up. Okay, I think I'm getting it. Okay, I'm done with this cool corner. This corner seems to be done as well. It won't turn anymore, so that's how you know it's done. Let me just screw in this corner a little bit, then continue with this corner. This one, top left, is done, so just at the bottom right now. And we're done. So you just have to look at it from down here, make sure that it's screwed on, then you can also like hold it from the cooler. If there's a corner that's like popping up, then you need to unscrew the opposite corner and then push it down a little bit, screw it down a little, and then continue opposite corners, just keep going the crisscross pattern. I have experience with this cooler, but it's always difficult. Like, it's one of those things. Anyways, we got the CPU fan cable. Plug it into the CPU fan header. It should say CPU_fan or something along the lines of that, and you can just tuck in the cable right over here under this VRM heatsink. Look at that, it looks so much cleaner. You just tuck in away the cable. Alright, let's get this bag of screws and that we got from the motherboard box and open it up. Dispose of this plastic. Get the standoff as well as the screw. Don't drop it. Where did it go? Where did it go? I literally dropped. Oh, never mind. It's still in the bag. Okay. You can see that there is a larger. Let me focus on the screw. You can see that there is a larger standoff over here and a smaller screw that is stuck in my finger. Okay. Smaller screw over here and a standoff. You have to install the standoff onto the motherboard, and then put the SSD on top of the standoff, and then screw this tiny screw on top of that like this. You have to use your fingers, and we're gonna install the SSD in the 2280 spot. This is an M.2 NVMe SSD, so you're gonna have to use your fingers, find the 2280 spot, and just use your fingers to twist it. Come on, what? I think it's because of this PCIe slot, my finger's just like hitting it, so it's like I can't really turn it. Dude, what? Oh, okay. Oh, I got it. Okay, just have to screw the standoff in with your fingers. Sorry that took so long. The 2280 spot, and this is the M.2 slot because this is an M.2 NVMe SSD. If you have a SATA SSD, you're just gonna have to install it into the case and plug it into a SATA port over here, and then get SATA power from the motherboard. Okay, let's get the M.2 NVMe SSD out of the box and just line it up with the M.2 slot. It's sort of 30-degree angle. Put it in, and you can see the gold contacts are not showing anymore, and it lines up perfectly with the standoff over here. Let me just zoom into my camera as well so you can see it clearer, and let me focus. Wrong way. Okay, here. So you can see that the M.2 SSD is kind of hanging like that. So we get our screwdriver. This one is too big. I would suggest let me get a smaller screwdriver. This one's magnetic tipped, so we can just install it. Okay, and screw the M.2 SSD down. Okay, and don't screw it too much. You don't want to strip the screw. So there we have it. The SSD is installed. Alright, we have the RAM. This is 16 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance LPX sticks, 3600 megahertz, I believe. So we're going to use these second and fourth slots. I suggest referring to your motherboard manual if you don't know which RAM slots to use. And I would suggest at least 2 sticks because you want them to run in dual channel. So you can see that there is a notch at the bottom of the RAM stick. You want to line it up with the notch on the RAM slot on the motherboard. So I believe it's like this. So let's put it into the fourth one first. It doesn't really matter which one you install first. Make sure that these slots, the notches line up. Then use 2 fingers, just push it down, and you should hear a click. You should also see this clip go back in. Depending on your motherboard, you might have clips on both the top and bottom, but it's only on the top for this motherboard. So yet again, make sure to line up the notches with the notches on the slot and guide it through. Just push it in, and there we have it. Okay, let's put the motherboard to the side and open up the power supply box. Let me just get a screwdriver. Come on, just open. Open up the power supply box, and just cut through this part. Also remember to peel off the sticker at the bottom of the power supply if there is one. So let's get the case ready, and I would suggest taking off all the panels. So we have the case over here. Sorry if it's too zoomed in. I would suggest taking off these side panels, and it depends on what case you have, but this NZXT H510 has thumb screws, so you just have to unscrew these thumb screws, pop it out, and take out the glass side panel. Put it somewhere safe where it won't get damaged. Flip it over to the other side and take off this side panel. So you can see over here, we have some thumb screws just where is it? Right here. It's pretty tight, so you might need a screwdriver to unscrew it a little bit first. Okay, and then you just use your thumbs. And then there's one down here as well. Unscrew this. Why is this not unscrewed? Okay. And once it's loose enough, you can just, come on. Why is this not loose enough? NZXT over tightening in the back. Okay, and then you just pop this out. Okay, we need to take out this screw box that NZXT includes inside the case. It looks like this. So you can just open this up and take out the screws. They also include a manual inside this box as well. If you want to check it out, if you're ever confused about any step in this video. So we need to plug in this PCIe cable to the spot where it says PCIe. Because we need it to power the graphics card, line it up with the case, and we're going to install it in the power supply basement because that's where it goes. And put the fan down because we're going to intake fresh air from down here into the fan and then out the back. And make sure the cables are on this side, and you can plug it into the wall on this side. Okay, so just line it up, and we need to get these 4 screws from this NZXT box of bag of screws, I guess. So we have to get these 632 screw hexagons, and let me just sort of pull it this way and then move the camera. Line up the power supply with the screw holes, the 4 screw holes, and just screw it in. Put one hand in the back of the power supply so you can line it all up. So got 1 screw in. I would suggest doing opposite corners here as well. Put one hand in the back of the power supply so you could line it all up. And I'm screwing this bottom screw in. This screw over here should be 4 corners, obviously 4 screws to hold down the power supply inside the case. I mean, I guess you could just leave it in there, but I mean, you would just have it flopping around. You would damage something, so just screw it in. There's like no reason not to screw it in. You don't want, even if you're gonna leave it on your desk forever, even if you're not gonna move it, you should just screw it in. Okay, now that we have all these cables back here from the power supply, we can just sort of stuff them in here because we have to flip this over. And you can see that NZXT has a bag of cables as well because we're gonna have to plug this into the motherboard. That's for the power button USB Type-C, as well as the front panel USB on the case itself. So let's flip over the case, and you can see the case over here. So we have some standoffs over here. We have 8 of them. They look like this. They're like all over the case. And you need standoffs in the case because you don't want your motherboard touching the very back metal of the case. You can short it out and ruin something. So hold the motherboard from the CPU cooler, and it's fine because we screwed it in really well. We also have the IO shield already pre-installed on this Asus board. Let me focus. Okay, so you can see the back part over here where my fingers are. If your IO shield is not already pre-installed, let me focus on the IO shield. This is the IO shield. If it's not already pre-installed on the motherboard, then you're gonna have to get it, make sure that it lines up with the holes and stuff, and install it in the back of the case. But nowadays, most manufacturers include IO shields already pre-installed. Okay, let's now, holding the motherboard, carefully line it up with the back part of the case. Make sure to line it up with the IO shield part in the back. This case is a little bit cramped. Why can I not line this up? Okay, yeah, you just have to carefully drop it in, or carefully lower it down. Line up the back part with the IO shield, and you might have to push it in a little, and it should also line up with the standoff holes. Okay, you're gonna need these 632 screw flats, and we're gonna have to screw in 8 screws. There should be 9 standoffs, but this one is already filled in the middle of the case. So just get 8 of these screws and put it on your table somewhere. So I would suggest a magnetic tipped screwdriver, because you can easily just put a screw on the screwdriver tip and you don't have to worry about it. So just screw it into the standoff, screw the motherboard into the standoff. There should be a screw up here, yeah. Okay. Come on, 2 screws down. Look at this, the screw is just on the tip. Let me just focus really quickly. Right here, you can see it's not falling off because it's magnetic tipped. Okay. Screw this down. Screw this standoff. Screw this into the standoff. Okay, let's do this screw over here in this corner. And you can see which screws to screw into by the design of the motherboard. You can see that there's like a silver metal piece around, a metal circle around each standoff part that you have to screw the motherboard onto. Okay, 2 more screws. Let's just do the bottom left one first. Okay, and the last screw over here. Alright, okay, we're gonna have to start plugging in some cables. Let me flip this case around. It just hit my camera. So we can get the motherboard 24-pin cable. It's a really thick one. Just route this through to the motherboard, to the main compartment of the case. This CPU power one, it's already plugged into the power supply. If it's not already plugged in, you're gonna have to plug it in yourself for your power supply. And this PCIe power cable, we'll plug it in a little bit later. But get the CPU power cable, route it around up here in this corner, up here into the main compartment of the case, because we're gonna have to plug that into the motherboard. We'll do cable management a little bit later, and also the front I/O cables a little bit later. Let's plug this in first. Okay, so you can see the motherboard 24-pin cable. Try to route it through the bracket. Make sure to line it up with this notch over here, and just push it down. It might be a little bit difficult. Just have to wear. Okay, I pushed it down completely, and you can route it behind this cable management bar that NZXT has in their cases. For the CPU power cable, you're also gonna have to line up this clip over here with the clips on the motherboard. Might be a little bit difficult because this case is a little bit cramped, but you just have to line it, push it down, and make sure to push it down all the way. You might hear a click, you might not, kind of depends. Make sure you push it down all the way. Alright, now we have this front panel cable, this batch of front panel cables in this bag that NZXT includes. Very nice of them. So just take out this plastic bag, let's go over them. HD audio, this is for your front panel audio. This is for the 3.5mm jack at the top of the case. This one with a cap on it is USB Type-C. This motherboard doesn't have a USB Type-C header, so we can't use that. F panel is for the front panel power button. And this blue tipped one is for USB 3.0 type, or 3.1, whatever it is, Type A. So we're gonna have to route this in through the cable management bar because we want to conceal it. Route this one over here. We don't need the USB Type-C one, so we can put this one. We can just tuck this one in here, in this hard drive bay, hard drive cage that we're not using. HD audio, we're gonna have to route it. Let's route it under this cable, just to make it look a little bit better. HD audio, it's for the front panel audio. Route it under here, and we'll plug it in later. And F panel, also route it under these holes to the main compartment. Then we can flip it around. All right. Let me focus the camera. All right. Where is the USB type A, this blue tip, make sure to line it up with the notch. There's a notch over here, notch on the port itself. Just plug it in, make sure it's fully inserted, then you can tuck in the cable under the cable management bar. Make sure it's in. This this HD audio, it says HD audio on it. Make sure to line it up with the port. It should say AAFP or something along the lines of like audio, J audio or something. There's also a missing pin on it, so just if it doesn't click in, if it doesn't go in, then just flip it around. You might have to flip it upside down. So we got it, HD audio down here. Let me increase the ISO of the camera so you can see everything clearer. But HD audio goes down here. It's usually on the bottom left of the motherboard. If it doesn't go in, then flip it around. Okay, so we got front panel or F panel. Let me zoom in on my camera and focus. All right. Okay. Move this up so you can see this. This is where the front panel connectors go to. Luckily, NZXT includes one single block, so that is very convenient. You just plug this in for the power button. It should say F panel at the top, so it should be like this when you plug it in. So plug it into the leftmost spot of this part over here on the motherboard, of the header on the motherboard, and it should just line up like that. Tuck in the cable a little bit just to conceal it. There we go. It plugs in like that. Here's a closer look at it. Let me lift up the case. It should say F panel on the, let me focus. It should say F panel on the cable. Alright, let's flip over the case and get the PCIe power cable. Should say PCIe on it. We already plugged that in. I forgot the case fans. We'll plug those in a little bit later. Route it. I'm gonna route the PCIe cable under this hole, under this PSU shroud. Oh my gosh. It should go under this hole. There's a hole under here. So we're gonna route it into the main compartment of the case. We routed it under. We also have these two case fans. We will plug this in. The case fans look like this, so route them into the main compartment. Undo these zip ties, or whatever they are. I don't really care. I don't care what they're called. Route them into the main compartment under here. And this one can go under here as well. Let's flip this over. Let me focus the camera. Okay, so we got the PCIe power cable over here, routed around. So line up the notch for the fan cables, plug them into the headers that say sys fan. These are 3-pin cables, fan cables, so they go into the leftmost spot of the fan headers. Well, actually, it depends on the orientation, but just line it up with the notch. There's a notch on the bottom here. Put it in. Tuck in the cable a little bit so we don't have to see it as much. And let's also move the case to the side. There are two thumb screws on this side. Let me get this screwdriver to undo them a little bit first. Then you can just use your fingers and unscrew this. Come on. Okay, we're gonna unscrew the second and third PCIe slot covers. These are the screws, so we're gonna unscrew the second and third ones. This is to install the graphics card now. We also have a Wi-Fi card because this motherboard doesn't include Wi-Fi. So to connect to Wi-Fi, you're gonna need a Wi-Fi card, or you're gonna have to use Ethernet at the back of the motherboard. Ethernet is wired Ethernet. So we have these two PCIe slot covers. Why is this one not coming out? This fourth one's like in the way for some reason. Okay, this one came out, so we can just put the fourth one back in. Okay, this one came out. So unclip this PCIe clip, and we're gonna line up the graphics card into the slot. Let me go get the graphics card right now. Get your graphics card, peel out the sticker because we don't need this, and if there's a PCIe slot cover, pull it out because obviously it won't go in without it. I mean, it won't go in with it. Make sure to peel out any stickers if there are any, as well as any plastic on the back plate. And you have the PCIe slot on the motherboard, as well as the PCIe connector on the graphics card. Just line it up. Let's see. Let me get to a better angle. Just have to line it up with the motherboard. Like this, and then you have to click it in. You should hear a click. Okay, it's in, and you should see the PCIe slot clip go back in. And once it's in, just get these screws that we unscrewed before for the PCIe slot covers and screw in the graphics card. You just want to make sure that the graphics card is secure and not flopping around. You get the other screw and screw in the graphics card. And let's plug in the power cable to make sure that it can actually get power from the power supply. So we have an 8-pin header over here, and we're just gonna use the 8-pin part. So we're gonna put this 6 plus 2-pin part. Let me focus this way. Okay. So yeah, we just have to get this 8-pin part, put it together like a block, and then line it up. And there's a clip over here at the spot over here for the clip. And it should just click in. Okay, and then we can zip tie this down later, this extra part. So we have that in, and we can turn this on soon. Okay, now let's also screw back. Well, actually, we don't need to screw that back on yet, the PCIe slot cover. Let's put this stuff to the side and get the AC cable. This is what the AC cable looks like that came with the power supply. We need to unravel this and then plug this into the wall so we can power this on. Let's also get HDMI. The back of the graphics card has a sort of plastic thing to prevent dust from going in. So plug in HDMI to the back of the graphics card and then to your monitor. I'm going to use a portable monitor, it's just what I have right now. Okay, and let's plug in this end to the back of the graphics card, and then plug the other end into the wall. Okay, let's also plug in our keyboard and mouse to the motherboard, the back of the motherboard, which is the computer. So turn on your keyboard and mouse. I'm just gonna use junky peripherals for now, just to make sure that this turns on, go into BIOS and everything. Also, I would suggest downloading the Windows 10 installer onto a USB drive. Let me focus the camera better. So yeah, just get a flash drive, USB drive, whatever you want to call it. Install the Windows 10 installer from Microsoft's website onto this, and Joey Delgado on YouTube has a good video on this. So I'll show you how to install Windows, but not the part where we got the Windows installer from Microsoft's website. Go to the back of the power supply, flick the switch on the power supply to the line which is on, and then you should see some lights on the motherboard. Click the power button at the top of the case, and let's cross our fingers. Come on, do you guys think it's gonna turn on? Yes! Come on. Okay, it turned on. It's gonna recycle, I mean not recycle, what am I talking about? It's gonna restart a couple times. That is normal, and we just have to wait till it shows a display signal. So yeah, it's gonna restart a couple times, boot cycle, whatever you wanna call it. We just have to wait till it stops doing this stupid stuff and displays the signal so we can download Windows onto this, check the BIOS and everything. Okay, we have a display signal. Just double check the specs, B450F, 3600, 16 gigs of RAM. We'll run it at the right speed a little bit later, 2 keyboards, whatever the heck it says. And for some reason it doesn't detect the SSD, which is not good. Click F1 to run setup. Let's go into BIOS and see why that is the case. I don't want to tune anything yet. Let's see, boot. Okay, I think this is the Western Digital drive. Yeah, okay, it does. Okay, let's plug in the Windows 10 installer USB to the back of the motherboard. And click discard changes and exit because we didn't add any changes. And it should boot into the, what? Okay, I restarted, went into BIOS. It says it's booting into the M.2 drive first, but we want to boot into the SanDisk flash drive first because we need to install Windows. So hopefully this should fix it because it was trying to boot onto an SSD that literally has nothing on it. Okay, come on. Boot into Windows installer. Okay, it says HDMI, so hopefully we got a signal. Come on. Come on, I know you can do it. Come on. Yes, okay. It's gonna have a spinny circle soon, I think. I hope. We are here. It says Windows. So yeah, English, whatever. Install now. It might take a while, so I would suggest while it's installing to put all your boxes away. Just put all the stuff away. Activate Windows. If you don't have an activation key, click I don't have a product key, but I do have one. It is in this container, so I'm gonna go open it and activate it right now. I will cut to the part once I've activated it. Alrighty. Accept the license terms. Next, install Windows. Find the drive that you have. I would suggest installing it on SSD because SSDs are faster than hard drives, and we only have one drive in here. So yeah, put it into the SSD. So yeah, it's gonna take a while. Just I'm gonna cut the camera. It's a waste of time to show you all this part. Might take like 10 minutes. I don't remember. I've done this so many times. I still don't remember how long it takes. I'm gonna put all this stuff away. Okay, we're back. United States, because that's where we are. Just put whatever country you live in. US, because that is the keyboard that I want. Skip. I don't want to add another keyboard. I don't want to connect to internet yet because I want to avoid all the bloatware that Microsoft installs. I think it also avoids like all the games that they install, like Candy Crush or something. I want the customer to have as clean of a PC as possible. Next, for the password, no password. I don't want a password. So yeah, let's turn off location. Let's turn off all this stupid stuff. We're not giving Microsoft our data. I guess we'll just, the customer can always just change it if they want to, like add all this stuff. No, we don't want this. Not now. We don't need Cortana. Who even uses Cortana? No one uses that. Okay, I powered off the monitor as well as the computer. Let's take out this 7th PCIe slot cover over here so we can install the Wi-Fi card and connect to Wi-Fi. Since I also turned off the PC, I can take out the USB installer for Windows because we don't need that anymore. Take out the slot cover, keep the screw handy, and let's get the Wi-Fi card. Similar to installing a graphics card, line it up. We're gonna install it into an X2 PCIe slot, so it's just like a really small PCIe slot. It just goes in, make sure that it's in, then screw it down with the screw that was already in there with the slot cover. Okay, and remember this thing with the thumb screws? Put this cover back on over here, and then put the install the thumb screws back on, screw the thumb screws back on. We're gonna enable XMP in the BIOS to run the RAM speed a little bit higher later on. So yeah, let's turn this thing back on, and we should have Wi-Fi. Oh no, let me get these antennae, screw them onto the back of the golden stubs for the antennae. Turn back on the PC, and then we're gonna go onto Google Chrome or Internet Explorer, whatever, Microsoft Edge, and then download the drivers. Okay, I connected to Wi-Fi. Let's go on Microsoft Edge. Google Chrome. Download Google Chrome because we are not using this stupid browser. Download, and we're gonna run. Alright, just Google Asus B450F drivers, and we'll go onto Asus's website, Asus B450F drivers. Select OS, Windows 10, 64-bit. So we need the audio driver. Just click download for all of them. LAN for Ethernet, chipset, SATA, and we'll just download Armory Crate. Yeah, we'll just download that as well. We also have to download NVIDIA drivers, and this is the 1660 Super, MSI 1660 Super. So go on NVIDIA's website, product GeForce 16 series not notebook, 6060 Super game ready driver, because we're going to be, or I assume the customer is going to be gaming. Click download. Make sure to download the most recent one. And we should be downloading it soon. While it's downloading, search up TP-Link, Wi-Fi, TP-Link WN881ND driver, I think that's what the Wi-Fi card is. Okay, download for this. Hurry up. Where is it? Driver. Go to driver. Download the most recent one. So 2018. Okay, we're downloading it. We can X out of this, and we have to click download for NVIDIA. So we're downloading all the motherboard drivers, the Wi-Fi driver, as well as the NVIDIA driver. So once this is all finished, we can close this tab, and then we'll go into folders, extract all for each of the drivers, and then we can run the programs that are in them to install the drivers properly. Quick recap, what do drivers do? Drivers basically allow all your components to run together effectively, because if you just slap random components together, they're gonna work, they're gonna turn on, but they're not gonna work very well. So think of these as basically hardware updates. You're just updating everything to make sure it runs smoothly. So yeah, once this is all done, I'll walk you through every step. Alright, go into files, go into downloads, and we're gonna have to right click each of them, click extract all. And I'm just going to do one of them for now, and then it's the same process for each of them. You have to extract all, go into the extracted file, find a file that says application or setup or something, and then double click that, run the setup, and if it says to restart, I would suggest restarting. Then once you've already restarted and you've downloaded everything, you just go back into the rest of the drivers, extract all, do the same thing. So let's go to setup, click yes. And this is the HD audio driver. So it's the audio driver. Should be some application like this. Might look a little bit different for the rest of the drivers. Installing driver, you could see. So let's just keep installing. Okay, I think it's done. Yes, I'll restart now. Click finish, and then it's gonna restart. And then we'll go to the next drivers. We'll extract all for each of them. Run the application. That says setup or something along the lines of that. And I'm just gonna cut to the part where we're done with this, because it's the same process for each of them. This is taking way too long. I also suggest going to Windows power settings, additional power settings, and we already updated the chipset, so we can find AMD Ryzen High Performance. Just click that, and just to double check, we can click additional power settings again, and you can see AMD Ryzen High Performance. So I am installing another driver right now. So yeah, just go to ASUS setup, double click. It should install, and then once you're done installing all of them, you can just restart. And I'm also gonna put all of them and drag them all into a single file called drivers. You can just do this on your own. I also suggest going on to Windows Update and checking for updates and updating all of them. You're probably gonna have a ton of them, so just run them all, and then if it says restart, restart now. I also downloaded Cinebench R20 Heaven Benchmark, as well as Hardware Info 64 to stress test the PC. So let's click run, and just wanna, let me alt tab Hardware Info 64. I just want to make sure that all the temps are fine, nothing's overheating, and it's stable, because obviously if you're gonna be gaming, if you're gonna be video editing, you need everything to be stable. You can't have everything crashing on you. I restarted the system. Now I'm spamming the delete key so we can get into BIOS. So we're gonna enable the XMP profile for the RAM to make sure that the RAM runs at the fastest advertised speed. AI tweaker, go to AI overclock tuner, DOCP standard, and then it enables everything for you. Then we go all the way back to exit, save changes, reset, and it will enable the DOCP profile, which is also called XMP, just on this. And then it'll just restart back into Windows, and we're pretty much done with installing Windows and drivers and everything. Alright, cable management time. We can get the 24 pin for the motherboard power and just route it over here, as well as with the USB Type A cable. We can just route it under here. So just use the included cable management tools, raceways and stuff that NZXT already includes in the case. So that looks pretty clean. It's routed over there, and then we just have to get the CPU power cable and tuck it in over here and use this twist tie that NZXT already has in the case. Sort of tuck it in here and then use the twist tie. There we go. And since we don't have many RGB products, it simplifies the cable management process a lot. So you can see pretty much we're done with cable management. It's fairly clean. So yeah, that is pretty much it with this PC build. I've already installed everything and made sure to screw everything down. Updated drivers, Windows, the BIOS was already pretty updated. RAM, I made sure to enable the XMP profile, also had the Windows power thing, set it to the Ryzen high performance plan. So yeah, we're pretty much done. I'm going to close all the panels, package it all up, put styrofoam, a ton of other foam as well, and put all the cables and manuals in there for the customer so they can get everything done. Yet again, if you want to purchase any parts, I'll link them in the description down below. Every single part, they're going to be Amazon affiliate links, so I do earn a tiny bit of commission. Does not come at an additional cost to you. And please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I plan to do more build videos in the future. I don't know if I'm going to do more build guides, but there are definitely going to be more PC videos in the future. Thank you for watching.